JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Friday, May 16th, 3:20. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P in the green. Change those headlines once again for the second session in a row. S&P is up about 0.6%. Opened in the green, then ran down to lows at about 10:30. Almost similar action. I wouldn't say similar to yesterday because yesterday was substantially in the red, but this time just bounced and found buyers at 10:30. And it's just like been a slow, meticulous rise to the upside. Not much in the way of dips and just slow and steady. So impressive stuff. The headlines I was talking about yesterday afternoon. The amount of expiring options today on the call side is forced the market makers to hedge, and that's going to put a halt on the rally. And I mean, it doesn't look like that's if it didn't do anything. At least, well, we'll have to see. We still have 39 minutes left to today. But needless to say, S&P is up 5% this week. Nasdaq up 6%. The Dow just went green for the year. S&P's green. The Nasdaq's still slightly in the red. So, if you had just left on vacation December 31st and then came back May 16th, you would think, oh, market's okay. Not too bad a start to the year. And meanwhile, we had a whatever it was. I think it's 23% from the lows on the S&P. So the April 7th lows, we've bounced 23% from that. So just pretty remarkable stuff in just a little over a month. I have this little slide up here because it's just I don't have much time to do a rant here this but you do this long enough and you encounter people, and one of them was Spruce Point Capital, right? I think I've talked about them before, and I don't know how this came on my list, but so this person they're a short letter person, right? Short newsletter. They wrote short pieces, and I always say forensic research, 50% to 80% downside, and they have hundreds of stocks they do, and somehow they get coverage on the news feed and stuff. I don't know why, because a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've had a couple maybe that have gone right, but there's buyouts. There used to be Ultimate Software. They said was going to zero. They got bought up for like $400. But to what brought it to my attention, is because I was bullish Wix.com, and it's back when it was like a $40 stock, and they say forensic research our forensic research shows is going to go down to $10 or whatever. And then I would argue with them. They blocked me on FinTwit, and then they were on Seeking Alpha, and I was arguing with them Seeking Alpha, and they like posted data in their bear case, and the data was they said, oh, the company is skewing numbers, the revenues aren't right, and I'm like, the company had just acquired another company, but it wasn't included in the results yet because it wasn't official. Yet he was including it as if the company was already acquired, so his numbers were wrong. And then when I post him up on it, he ignored it, attacked me, and then that was that. But ever since then, I've kind of had like I wouldn't call it a vendetta, but I just laugh at some of the stuff he comes out with. So this is on top of his X feed, and he says, "I'm pleased to announce that on February 18th, Spruce Point Capital Management was ranked number 2 in Diligence 2024 short seller watch list." I'm like, that's amazing stuff. And then you go look, and it's like 11 shorts launched, 13 different stories, average monthly returns 1%, and I'm like, did they round up for that number? So I just joking aside, I don't know. I just have to get that off my chest. The other thing is his Twitter handle, and it's always been, and same on Seeking Alpha. It looks like he's sitting on a king's throne. Of course, you'd zoom in a little bit, and he's actually talking at a convention or some type. But to me, that's what it looks like. And that, come on, anyway, rants for other days, funny stuff. So I just had to share that. All right, so I talked about 580 to 590 all week. We got up to 590 yesterday afternoon, broke through, closed over 590 on the SPY, and here we're at 593. So you got to think, pending any crazy headlines over the weekend, that 600 is kind of come. It's like the momentum shifted, similar to what happened to United Healthcare, right? Once the negativity came in, it's a lot harder for that name to really get going, even with the insider buy here today. So we'll have to see how things play out this weekend. I'm not like overly aggressive on some of these names, but I think you can get constructive on other names that have done pretty well. I'll talk about that in a second. But just take this year-to-date performance here, and this is from a couple minutes ago. So, I mean, it's changed a little bit, and I got to keep my eye on Cigna here because I have calls that are in the money. Same with GPCR. Still got some time left, 35 minutes. All right, so that's kind of the overall name. That's the overall market. You take a look. Upper Bones Band on the SPY is at 601 and change. Earlier this week, it was at 590. So that's a good sign. So again, it was kind of funny this morning. You take out last week's performance, and the market is up 14 straight sessions from lows. Just remarkable stuff. And you still have all the uncertainty. Like anybody who goes back, people on FinTwit saying now, oh yeah, buy the dip. It's so easy. Someone was posting, oh, we bought all the dip. Like I didn't see anybody on April 7th saying buy the dip at the bottoms. Didn't see anybody, right? I mean, uh, so it's just now everybody's like, seems like they all bought the dip. They weren't fear spewing fear, right? I mean, there was no doubt there was uncertainty back then, but it's like you do this long enough, you've seen so many different events. So, I was making a joke yesterday, the day before, like DeepSeek. Where's DeepSeek now? That whole DeepSeek fiasco that was going to bomb the tech industry and the AI names and all the semis and the energy producers and all that from these low cost programs. Where is that anymore? And then on the flip side, all of a sudden, Saudi Arabia is the AI capital of the world, right? Oh my gosh, trillions of dollars. I just sense my sarcasm a little bit, but it's just a lot of folks that like it's so easy to get flooded into things, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and then make irrational decisions based on that. You could have said, "Oh, Nvidia's done. That's it. It's over." And there's a lot of cases out. You start reading stuff, you're like, "Well, that kind of makes sense. All right, that makes sense." But you always got to take things with a grain of salt. Be open to different perspective, right? Not overreact. All right. Rants for other days. All right, so now just some individual names. First, talk about SolarEdge. So it had that Northland downgrade this morning. I talked about that they downgrade the stock also in February to underperform. So they must have upgraded the stock between February and May back to market perform, and then they downgraded it again. I didn't make sense to me, but needless to say, I guess fool me once, shame on them. Fool me twice, shame on me. So fool me twice. It looks like the market's saying shame on you. Stock shook off the morning gap down. It was at $22 in the pre-market before the news came out, or they hit the wires, all the way up to 22.60, and then pull back, sitting here at 21.60. We're not surprised about volatility. Of course, I would love to have seen it just continue to squeeze, but a good sign here. It held. I mean, great opportunity when it dips in the morning. You think, hey, maybe the Bears take control and start to shove it back green to red and really push under $20. That didn't happen. So use the move, close some of my calls out for over a little over 100% or 100%. Held the rest. I think it trades 28 to $30 in the coming weeks. So I'm going to be patient because it's volatile. If I see more opportunities next week, I'll add more strikes. 23.77, I think, or 23.70 is the highs in February. So that's the next big spot. 21, I think it was 21.51 was the other spot. The highs we hit on Monday. So good sign we broke that today. All right. That's that. Now Cigna, right? I'm sitting there watching Cigna, Humana, and well, not really United Healthcare, but only because United Healthcare has got pulled. I wasn't going to get calls on that. I was looking, if you take a look at the insurance space, and it's like if United Healthcare is going to have like a negative stigma associated with them, right? If their brand is tarnished, you got to start looking to the future and say, I mean, how is not a boom for competitors, right? For the Humanas and the Cignas of the world. So I look at them like these got sold off on that report, and then the Medicaid report, Medicare report, and then you're like, how are these not? They almost should be higher than where they were. So, uh, not a sector that I have like the back of my hand. So I'm not going to sit here and load the boat on things. So I went and got some spec lotto calls on CI. Hopefully I can still get some more out. Got some out for over 100%. I held the rest. Right, the reason I went with Cigna instead of Humana because right at its 200-day moving average, 319.50. I was looking at Humana calls next week. They're kind of pricey, and then same with Cigna. I could see Cigna back 340, 350 next week, but I'm not that convicted. So we'll see how things play out. But interesting. I mean, again, like you look at that whole space, it's like someone's got to insure people, right? And the bear case too. Everybody was talking about the bear case in insurers because like if there's a recession to people out of jobs. People out of jobs, they're not covered by their insurance anymore. They don't have United Healthcare covering it. So then United Healthcare loses payment. It's just a whole negative cycle, right? So the fact that it's not my opinion, right? I'm not an economist. There's a lot of folks who think we are in a recession or going in a recession or have been in for a long time. If that's not the case, then you're like, these things have been oversold based on I wouldn't say false premises, but things that haven't come to fruition. So names definitely on the radar into next week. United Healthcare was $600 stock a couple months ago. So the brand's tarnished. Some of that business got to go somewhere else. All right. That's Cigna. That's Humana. That's Cigna again. VKTX. So I got kept talking about the last couple of weeks. I want to get some strikes to encompass data. That'll be out sometime in July, end of August, end of July, start of August. Got the August strikes. I was actually looking at the 65s and then the 60s where I'm like, let's say there's a buyout and the premium's not as meaty as people were thinking. Maybe it's only 100% or something. I don't want to be in a spot where those you get a buyout and you lose money. So I went and got the lower strikes. That's kind of the thought process there. You have to think, right? I mean, NVO fired their CEO, or the urgency around that GLP-1 space. It's like the sense of urgency. You have to. Well, all right, so we're answer other days on that one. But I had those strikes. Trip back in the green. Still have the last few of my June 15s. I'll hold those. At some point, I'll lock those in and get some further out strikes. But that was not moving too much. And then other names, I was still on some deck. They have earnings next Thursday, but I'm like, I'll wait until the weekend. I don't. There's no catalyst, I don't think, that's going to move the markets come Monday or deck, unless there's some M&A, right? I mean, you already have Skechers, you have Dick's and Foot Locker, so that apparel space. I mean, hey, maybe there's more acquisitions over the week. I don't know. I don't think so. Uh, so I'll probably just wait till next week. Yeah, RH, there was a dip, right? You know what? I got to put it on main streamer. Is it getting destroyed now? Yeah. I looked. I'm like, did someone come out with a short piece? There's a lot of folks who've been short on RH for a long time. You know, I I think, well, Citron Research probably say he was bullish, but he was bearish for a while. Uh, yeah, I have to go look. Yeah, I'm surprised. Take a look where it is. I mean, was it? It's only up 5%, even in the face of the China news. So, I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll be back to rock and roll.